Alright, 11. Ditching excavation. A practical guide to pipeline construction inspection. For inspectors. Alright, 11. You got your ditching and excavation. Ditching and excavation of the new phase of the pipeline construction. Typically, the excavation of the trench and the right of way of the pipe installation. Typically, ditch operations are after stringing, bending, welding, and non-destructive examination. Coating due to the rich cavity that opened the trench out of the way over there. The number of exemptions. When rock has encountered with the trench may be blasted excavated prior to stringing. Urban areas and other areas not underground utilities obstruction it may be exist. It should be noted that the ditching excavation still require the entry exit pits for the trenchless crossing. Mechanical wheel ditch or trencher the backhoe. Where the trencher is generally used to create a trench for the uniform depth of the width. However, the more specialized technique for the equipment may be required based on the type of the soil and pipe. For example, the backhoe of the traditional excavators may be used at the point of the intersection where area of the buoyancy control of the pipe requires the extra wide trench, accommodating placing weights over the pipe. Road or highway, railroad, third-party pipeline, river crossing, all high locations with extra width and depth required for the welders to work on the trench. Areas unsuitable and unstable soil conditions where trench sides are need to be sloped, mountains and steep slope, rocky soil, rocky conditions, short section pipe in the area of the moving around. It is not practicable depending on the nature of the buoyancy control requirements. Trench may be required to be undertaken with the phase construction. 11.2 inputs is preparing the inspection during the ditching excavation process. Inspector continually familiarizes himself with the relevant aspect of the key document drawings. The owner copy the technical specifications shown identified in table 69. Art 11.3 execution work is being executed. The inspector required to monitor the workmanship, report with the product periodic basis, the type of the inspect with the inspector monitoring of the during with the ditch and excavation process evaluated, identified and secured with the checklist table 68. Alright, you have your prior commencement over the work of on the daily basis to ensure that the issue has been identified and detailed, address safety monitoring operation adhering to the relevant owner and company project safety requirements. Environmental consideration and items should be monitored through ditching excavation operations that relate with the specifically owner's company project specific environmental protection plan. Excavation equipment monitor operated adhering with the relevant owner copy the project specific requirement of the particular ensure the equipment that does not damage pipe, buried facilities or roadways in any way. Trench excavation. Ensure that the trench is excavated project requirement includes specification alignment with the center line, decision and scope, sides and width and depth of the installation of new gaps and landowner livestock wild crossing, prior crossing installation padding, mounting control of the preparation lowering, trenching through the rock, even the rock areas blasting required with the break-in, losing the rock creep of the trench area where the trench cannot be excavated batch, hose, ditches, rippers. Particularly dangerous aspect of the operation due with explosive inspectors will ensure blasting plan is followed without. Alright, crossing out underground facility. New pipeline will be constructed either under or existing facility depending on the depth of the cover. So inspector needs to ensure crossing and encroachment agreements are filed with the appropriate with the trenching and hydrovac near buried facilities. Ditch plug, subdrain, drain titles, ensure the drainage, ensure the control device measure for the ditch plug subdrain the drain system to divert water away from the trench bed. Draw tile holes are provided with lubricating. Tubing allows the water to enter the drain with away from the pipeline to prevent erosion right away with the trench due to the ground. Surface water is used by the owner of the company's specification. Seasonal water winter consideration itemized consideration that there are specific construction seasons addressing additional and by the particular normal note during the phase of the operation again a result of the additional cost therefore requiring monitoring with the contracted cost region. Alright, historical sites. Incomes this is every pre-house storing, ditching, excavation operations, so spending with the discovery of historical sites, resources, of formal notice received by the owner of company recommence construction. 11.4 output. Inputs required the report of the workmanship progress of the periodic basis by completely various reports on each workday, end of the week, report requirements, reporting process for the owner, company project, specifically how even the best practice, reporting requirements for the ditching excavation appear in table 81. Alright, Table 69, information requirement of ditching, excavation, all drawing specification development, and owners, cable company, contractors related to ditching, excavations of the assets, road, line list, trenching, specification, procedure, buoyancy control system, topsoil segregation requirement, pipe and depth line with the covered blasting specification, contracts or agreements related to the road use, construction, buried facilities, construction survey, permits related to environmental use, road use, owner company's specific safety plan included but not limited excavation traffic plan, requirement personal protective equipment and emergency medical service projects, specifically environmental protection plan, detailed ditching, excavation requirement following but not limited to watercourse, wetland, mosaic, swamp areas, wildlife, migratory routes, other project specific plans which include blasting plan, fire prevention, firefighting plan, heritage sites, and shore dewatering plans as required. Alright, Table 7, the prior to commencement of the work, participating in the daily meeting shall safety hazard identify indication of the issue for the environmental concern with the duty for the inspector, pipeline contractor, tailgate meetings as required, ad hoc meeting with the contractor to discover the clarity of the question with the concern, confirm everyone to understand the start and stop order of the signal equipment and operation exclusion zone with the established site personnel aware of the boundary, across the underground facility with the third party pipeline, power cable, the communication cable, the cab, both of the cathodic protection process for the public works, will be identified, surveyed, and staked prior to any of the goods disturbance. Owner company third party facility may locate, expose, evacuate themselves, allow the contractor to do so. However, before the crossing construction begins with the existing buried utilities should be positively located. Alright, equipment. Confirm all the equipment operators have the appropriate certification. Ticket for the confirm the contract possessed for the manufacturer information manual with the machinery operated. Check all third-party pipeline crossing ramps have been built. Check for the warning sign for the temporary fencing that is installed with the open excavation closed with the public accesses. Ensure that all the necessary hand and hydraulic excavations buried facility with the third-party pipelines have been carried out in advance of the trenching activity. Table 71, safety concerns over the ditching excavation. Ensure one calls 811 in the underground facility with the meet over the contract. Ensure the valid one call for the 811 if the call ticket is placed on advance commencement work. Ensure the equipment operators use the players transversely under power lines overhead hazards. Ensure equipment operators make eye contact with the equipment operator before approaching. Monitor where applicable the contractor follow the excavation checklist. Confirm the equipment operators follow short and the stop orders properly signal the equipment operation. Be aware of the bootleg holds and their impact when excavating rock ditch. Confirm the equipment operated for the work will only with exclusion zone known with the boundaries. Shot down with immediate unauthorized personnel. Enter for the exclusion zone. Ensure all lifting equipment and the inspect for the damage issue wherever the findings are documented before. With any specific requirements related to jurisdiction. Alright, blasting. Confirm pre-blast survey has been completed. Confirm approved blast plan is in place. Ensure the contractor is operating permits for use in the storage of explosives. Check one qualified drilling blasting personnel are employed with the blasting operation. Ensure the contract seismic monitoring equipment is blasting place on the monitoring peak particle velocity limits. Ensure blasting notifications are in place for the being clearly communicated. Monitor loose rocks scattering on the roadway adjacent, causing damage to the equipment and property. Verify the contractor pick up and properly dispose of any flying rock from blasting activities. Ensure compliance with being prepared with the blasting have been protected with the impact flying rock during the blast. Establish and maintain adequate set balance distances all blast personnel and non-essential personnel. Alright, Table 7, the due typical monitoring requirement of environmental consideration, make record trenching, spoil, pile, segregation, subsoil, where variable horizon. Typical monitoring requirements of excavation equipment, ensure that all the machines struck with the contacts broke down, slides into, rest on top of the pipeline facility, work is stopped immediately, construction manager, chief inspector is notified the machine is not to be moved within extracted for the owner company approval, ensure the contractor never pass with the bucket over an exposed loaded pipeline during excavation. Inspect backfills, areas of soft spots, rocks, and adequate depth of the cover before heavy equipment cross load line. Confirm the use of the timbers equipment to support each of the weak and saturated soil. Enter roadways, protect with the tracked equipment on the road crossing. Alright, you got Table 74, typical monitoring requirement of trenching excavation. Trench dimensions, particularly measure minimum trench dimension of the conformance specification defined in the construction alignment sheets. Confirm the specific depth of the cover of the will be measured with the tile of the pipe of the grade with the right of way profile In the event of the grading was not recorded, the confirmed the depth will be measured the original strip ground. Note topsoil cuts were not considered the cover the depth measure. When buoyancy control, saddle weights, and bolt-on weight screw anchors are to be used to confirm the depth of the cover of the top of the buoyancy control measure. Confirming the farm lot line, midfield, seasonal other drains not shown in the project drawing or instead with the minimum cover dam depth specified. Confirm the depths of the cover of the trench drains. The rail will be measured in the top of the pipe to invert the ditch into the drain. Alright, confirm the trench will be deep enough to minimum to cover all conditions, including saddling, sand padding, and the sandbagging and foam pillow support when they are necessary. Confirm the trench will be graded with the specified clearance, all crossing, and any other obstruction directed with the owner's company specification. Minor locations where applicable workspace is insufficient allow the company to compliance with safety and environmental requirements will escalate it to the construction manager, chief inspector, or designated and identified. Our open trench consideration cultivated with aware livestock and ensure the safety temporary bridge of the backfield seeing sections along with the trench provided with the livestock with the farm machinery craft with the specified construction drawings. Confirm the length of the track length of the drawing of the pipeline. Construction is approved with the construction manager, chief of the inspector for the designee with the base suitable for the trench and weather conditions. Ensure contractor will not leave the trench for the extended pipe with a particular amount from the safety concern for the work of the wildlife. Large accumulation of water, excavated soil becoming frozen in where snow and ice accumulation. Alright, your buoyancy. Ensure trench key for the wide trench locations that add accommodating buoyancy control weights that are excavated specified with the dimension appropriate location based on the construction drawings. A screw anchor or steel helical anchors installed with the pairs of either side of the pipe of the roof trench bottom into the soil. After the pipe is sectioned and lowered and the trench are being installed, ensure the trench has all adequate slot per opening company specification with access egress ladders installed. Alright, Table 75, typical boring requirement of trenching with rock. Shoot for the mat, safeguard placed over the dense line, prevent loose rock scattering onto the right of way. Conform the scattered rocks are dispelled with the contractor authorized site of the right of way. Piled neatly in rows alongside of the right of way as per line list. From the trench dug with additional bench based on owner's company's specifications. Typical minor requirement to cross underground facilities encroachment. Ensure the contractor will excavate the trench for the cross location gap between the underground facility with the proposed pipeline specified with the contract documents crossing agreements. Validate location buried facilities after the contractor exposed the facilities by hand for use of the hydrovac tools prior to the mechanical excavation. Ensure the contractor during exposure for the operating pipeline ensure the compliance project requirement. In the case of the potential inconsistent between the owner company's specification of the contract and the construction contractor and the crossing agreement, the more stringent requirements will apply. Alright, Table 77, the typical mine of the ditch plug with the subdrain drain tiles. Ditch plug with the subdrain may be constructed based on the construction drawing, but however, in some cases, the quality of the air location of the best determine the field of the trench is excavated the bottom of the special drain feature with the drain pattern. Groundwater flowing steep in the bottom with the side of the trench with the sub-drain with the drain title may be required low immediately down hill with the discharge point with the collect the water divert it over the radius away. Location of the water can either be enter the trench or flow down through the backfill dishwater in kernel with the slope in the hills. Sure owner and company specification that meets needed exceed for erosion. Confirm silt fence and stairwall bale sediment control measurement installed with on slopes. Confirm the contractor has installed the key trench breakers and subdrain with the trench by per owner company special drawing specifications required. Subdrains and drain tiles. Drain tiles are cut ensure location measure of the confirm and cap. Prevent clogging of the dirt and debris and ensure the temporary flumes with install of the maintained damage. If unmarked and discover the damage, then ensure the contractor contacts the facility owner with approval of the requirements for the repair. Ensure location of the drain title for the irrigation pipe with the non and drawing of the cross of the trench line and document daily progress report. Alignment sheet that is built with the drawing. Alright, Table 78. Typical monitoring requirements of the seasonal winter conditions for ensure the contractor blade of the grade of the brass berm of the loss from snow of the snow roach owner of the company specification over the center line trench immediately after grading the right of way, preventing frost penetration into the ground along the ditch line. Note a berm may be not required, must get air of the ditching. Comments at the end of the following day of the grading. Ensure frozen lumps of result of the ripening ditch line with the removal of the contractor stored separately from the trench soil line. Subline. Monitor the subsoil freezing into lumps to 0 temperatures. Confirm contractor's lower backfill specified window following ditching with the backfill does not freeze. Exemptions are approved with the construction manager's chief inspector as designated. Ensure snow and ice ditches are removed before lowering comments. Alright, 79. Your typical monitoring requirements, additional work items. Monitor record of following additional work items which have potential costs, implications, extra depth ditch, location where available workspace, insufficient compliance, safety, environmental requirements, pre-wrapping, attempt surface rock incorporated with it may require specialized mechanical excavation, rock ditch excavation, special mechanical excavation techniques, rock ditch excavation blasting techniques. The quantity of the rock excavation according to the method of payment in the contract documents. Fabricated blast mats used to contain fly rock where required by permit. Use of timber mats, equipment support area. Weak and saturated soil, third-party utility crossing, subdrain, drain tile station location, temporary, permanent repairs if required. Alright, Table 80, typical mining requiring historical sites and immediately suspending activity of the construction manager, chief inspector if any historic site or resources are discovered. Ensure ditching will not resume until formal provided with the construction manager and chief inspector designee. Our typical output of the ditching, excavation, inspection, table 81, typical recording requirements. Generally, any whether the other local logistic conditions caused by the increase of the decrease expected with the progress. Your completely daily ditching excavation progress report will include work completed date, will include record of quantity of any of the rock excavation, rock with the ditch depth, width, starting and change station numbers of the dug trench, record soil, horizon location, drain tiles, irrigation pipe, not on drawing, crossed by hand, trench line. Or your reference, ditching and excavation. Note use the reference information provided on the table 82 is intended as a guide and list of non-exhaustive documents. Nature updated frequently and the remains of responsible user to ensure correct most documents or references appropriate. And CSS 12 show the construction safety consensus guideline trenching excavation safety. Alright, 12 welding.